At the beginning of the story, we see a man named Jimmy. Jimmy was once a good footballer, but an injury ended his entire football career, so now he is trying to make ends meet by doing odd jobs. One day when he was working in a tunnel under a car race truck, his boss called him out of work. He says you walk with a limp so the work is late, so he fires him, and after hearing this he is shocked. So he gets upset and comes to a girl named Bobby. Bobby is actually Jimmy's ex-wife, but since Jimmy's injury ended his football career, they've been separated, and now Bobby is married to a rich man, but now he has come to pick up her daughter Melly, so he can enter her daughter in a beauty contest. But later Jimmy hears that Bobby and her husband have decided to move far away to a town called Lynchburg, which makes Jimmy angry, because then Jimmy will never be able to see his daughter will be far away from him. So Jimmy decides to shift to that city, but he doesn't have the money to live there. He needs a lot of money to live there, so he starts making a plan. He decides that he will rob the money lockers under the race truck, because there is a lot of money deposited there every day. In fact, whoever races here is called NASCAR. Thousands of people flock to see it, they place bets, and all this money is sent down by a tube into a locker, and because Jimmy worked there, he knows how much money there is, and how it works, how the money is put, and how it's pooled. But Jimmy also knows very well that he cannot steal this money alone, so he come to meet with his brother Clyde. Actually Clyde was an army officer, but he lost an arm in a war, so now he's retired and runs a bar. But then a guy named Mex walks in along with two of his friends. They all start making fun of Clyde's hand, but after seeing this, Jimmy attacks them in anger, and when Clyde also gets angry, he comes out and sets their car on fire. After seeing this, Mex and his friends started making videos, so that they could show it to the police, and tell them that the two brothers set fire to our car. But then Jimmy comes and takes their phone and burns it too. Then he starts saying quali fire. Actually quali fire is a special word. With these words he tries to convince his brother that he has planned something that he cannot do alone, so he needs his help. In fact, when Jimmy was a footballer, they used this code to commit petty theft, but now Clyde is shocked to hear that. Later Clyde asks him, "What are you planning to do, tell me?" Then Jimmy says, "I have a plan to steal millions and become a millionaire," but stealing millions of dollars is not so easy, so they try to manage a team. They first come to their sister Millie, but none of them can break a locker. They have never broken a locker, and they don't know how to break it, so they decided to get help from a man named Joe Bank. Actually, Joe Banks is a thief who has already committed many robberies by breaking lockers, but now he is in jail, so Jimmy and Clyde come to visit him in jail, and when Jimmy tells him his whole plan, Joe Bank says your plan is perfect, but since I'm in jail I can't help you much. I have two brothers outside who can help you. Their names are Fish and Sam, so Jimmy is forced to take Joe Bank's two brothers on their team. But for the plan to succeed they need to free Joe Bank first, because without him they can't do anything, so they start planning to free Joe Bank. As they plan, they will secretly break Joe Bank out of jail, and after stealing the money, they will secretly put him back in jail. So according to the plan, Clyde drives a car into a super shop, so the police catch him and take him to jail. Now Joe Bank and Clyde have to get out of jail and back to jail after the robbery. On the other hand, Fish and Sam team up with a woman working in the tunnel, and open the mouth of the tube and put cockroaches in the tube, so they can figure out which tube's money goes to the locker. Later when Jimmy comes to a store to shop for this heist, he meets a girl named Sylvia. Actually Sylvia used to go to school with him, but now that she can see a bruise on Jimmy's face, she then decides to treat him. Actually Sylvia works for an NGO that treats the poor with donations from the rich. Anyway, Jimmy then comes down to the race truck, where he used to work. He tells his boss that, "Some of my things are left here so I'm here to get them," but he goes in and steals the design of the locker. But then his boss tells him that our work will be finished a week ahead of schedule. But Jimmy is completely shocked to hear this, because now his plan will also be brought forward by a week. Then finally the day comes when they will steal. Joe Bank pretends to vomit in jail, so he is sent to the hospital. Then Clyde comes and takes him out, on the pretense of going to the bathroom. On the other hand, Joe Bank orders his men to start fighting in the prison, so the situation here worsens, and when the warden sees it, he locks all the prison doors. That's why Clyde and Joe Banks get stuck in that bathroom. The nurse can't get them out, and they tunnel through the bathroom and get out, hiding under a food delivery truck. Actually this delivery truck goes in and out of the prison every day. so they plan to get out with the help of this. A little later, when they stop at a gas pump to get gas for the truck, Melly brings them to the location of the race truck. When they get out from under the truck, meanwhile, Fish and Sam blast the locker's generator, destroying all the card machines, so payments are now accepted only in cash, and since a lot of money is being deposited, they start sending the money to the lockers with the help of tubes. Now finally putting their plan into action. Joe Banks makes a bomb out of the children's toffee, and plans to detonate it, but Jimmy and Clyde don't understand how a toffee can be blasted, so Joe Bank drops all the work and starts explaining the chemical formula to them, how the chemical works and how to blast a toffee. Then when he puts the bomb in the box and sends it through the tube to the locker, it doesn't explode and bounces back, hitting Clyde in the chest. Actually Joe Bank had the box's mouth so tight that it wouldn't open and it wouldn't explode, so this time he loosened the mouth and sent it back into the locker, and this time there was a huge blast, so the locker stopped working, and taking this opportunity they send a vacuum cleaner into the locker. And with the help of it they pull out the money. As they were taking out the money, smoke from the blast started coming out, and after seeing it, the guards came to check, but they come and see a man smoking a cigarette here, so they think the washes is for cigarettes. So they scold him and leave. We find out this guy is also from Joe Banks. He put him here so the guards think the washes are for cigarettes. On the other hand, Jimmy and his men try to take the money in a garbage truck, but on the road they see a huge gate that is closed, so Jimmy helps them to open the gate, and when he opens the gate with great difficulty, they start running away with the money. But then as they drive away with the money in the truck, here comes Max, and when he sees Clyde he recognizes him, because Clyde burned his car, but again Clyde beats him up and runs away with the money. On the other hand, Joe Banks' men set fire to the jail kitchen as planned, and firemen are called to put out the fire, and with these firefighters, Clyde and Joe Bank enter the jail, and reach the place where they was. Meanwhile, Jimmy's daughter had a beauty pageant, but when she got on stage, her father was nowhere to be found. So she gets very upset, but then her father comes, and she is happy to see him, so she sings a song that her father likes. This song is also liked by everyone here and she wins the contest. Jimmy then drives the truck to a gas station, and he calls the police himself and says, "I stole the money but now I left it at the pump, so the money goes back to where it belongs, but the question is why did you steal the money, if you return them?" The FBI tries to investigate the theft, but they have no evidence. They also talk to Mex. Mex says I saw Clyde that day, but since they have no evidence against Clyde, Jimmy or Joe Bank, they can't take any action, meaning they can't prove that they escaped from jail that day. Now the question is whether Jimmy has returned all the money. The answer is no. In fact, Jimmy and Clyde had removed a lot of money, before they were trapped in front of that gate that day, and that door Jimmy purposely stuck with a magnet, so that they get some time. After a few days when everything calmed down, they found the money with the help of a trucker, who had placed it in a money bag. Actually, they didn't do it because they wanted to cheat Joe Bank, they did it so that if Joe Bank and his brothers opened up, they wouldn't get caught. However, Jimmy divides all the money equally and sends it to everyone. When Joe Banks is released from prison, he digs into his garden and finds some money that Jimmy left there for him. Sylvia also receives a huge donation for her work, but she realizes it was sent by Jimmy. Also the guys who started the fight in jail get a lot of dollars, and that woman gets a few dollars for her help, and with all the remaining money, Jimmy moves to a new town, but since his wife is now married to someone else, he also decides to stay with Sylvia, because they also love each other, and at such a point, this whole movie ends here.